put it into chunks. And well, this would be where we take a bathroom break, but because I'm not taking the bathroom break, you can take on your own. Okay, right. So, end of part 1. Well, and then part 2, we say why and how, and hopefully you guys come up. Okay? So, third information. Welcome to part 2 of the literature survey workshop. Right? So let me just briefly talk about why. I'm not going to talk about this at length because we covered it already. It's a basis for lifelong learning. Okay? And I want to just show you my personal stats. The reason that this is a good example is because it's not organized by Dewey system, Dewey system, right? Like or Library of Congress numbers. So it's organized by, those will be organized by what? By subject matter. So this would be the formal tree of knowledge. Okay? So formal tree of knowledge. That would be like a library organization. But my own interest is different. So some brands I really don't care. Some brands I go deeply. Okay, so it's a very jagged, uneven tree. And an example of that would be to look at my thing I have in my drive here. So my reading, so my reads. Okay, so first of all, it's not binary, right? It just happens to be a whole bunch of things I'm interested in. I happen to read a lot of, obviously, AI and machine learning, but I also read about biology and computational science and data analytics, which I consider different, separate, finance, risk management. And so these kind of branch out, maybe going to application, going to these techniques, and some of these I would actually just have just a textbook. So this is just a whole bunch of neural network textbook. This is quite old. Some of these I just keep for keepsake. Some of it was written by my professor. It's written way in the 90s or the 80s, and it's a little bit outdated, but I keep it because for keepsake. Yeah, but then there's also a newer thing, building machine learning up. I don't know. Yeah, right. And then now there's a sample of this. By the way, this is what I mean by going to class lecture. So this is my own stats of this guy's lecture. Yeah. So this is I use that for again learning. I do that with any topic. Okay. So you can see that, let's say, by the way, this is my third iteration. I did one was the Bank of Thailand, one is the Siam Commercial Bank, and this one is a little bit later, kind of like you can say my last 5 years. So there's a whole bunch of papers. Some of them I have read thoroughly. Some of them I have, just highlighted bits. Some of them, most of them, I just maybe look at the abstract. So out of the 6,000 papers in 475 folders. So each folder is like a branching, but it's not a whole branch. It's the branch that I'm interested in. Okay. Yeah. So I happen to be interested in even history and philosophy, so I do that as well. Okay. Sustainability, that's a big thing for me. Okay. And so forth. Right. And obviously math. So this would be the very reason, hopefully, the most important reason for part-time students, but I'm not betting on it because one of you are just doing a literature survey because you have to. Okay. So the second reason is again preamble to research paper. Okay. And so this is kind of like repeat of that, but give it a more elaborate meaning. Okay. So you have to assure that readers that your work is valid. Because it's not done before. It's either old technique and new data, or old data with new technique, or new data and therefore new technique, or new technique. Oh, this is an interesting one. This is what you see a lot. So old technique, new data, old data, new technique, new data, new technique. And also, because you have new technique, you can also do new data. These data are not really new. They're there. But because you didn't have this technique, you cannot look at it. You didn't have the instrumentation, okay? So actually, maybe put it as a double point. So it's new data. It's not really new. It's an old data, but because you didn't have technique before, you can't play with it. Okay? And it's based on solid, so forth. Okay. Now for the survey paper, this is basically survey stepping stone. So that's that. So I'm not going to repeat anymore of the justification. Now let's go to the how. Let's go to the how. Okay, there are 5 hows that this workshop should cover. So let me use the same friend of yours here who's sitting here for a guinea pig. How's that? Okay. Well, unless you were at home want to volunteer his or her topic, but unless you raise your hand, I'm just gonna go with your friend here. Okay. How to source or identify sufficient relevant literature to publish. Okay. So this is the art of Googling. That is the word. Googling, you usually think of Googling as topic. Okay? I was one of the first guys who realized that Google has semantic engines that you can use. So you add connected words. So let's say, for example, if I search the PTSD, so let's go with this example. Okay? Now let's go to so we can use your mind thing, and let me go with this example that I thought of as PTSD. Okay, so what's that happen, right? Whole bunch of stuff. Okay, so there's Thais, and then you can qualify with Thai English and whatnot, and all kinds of stuff. So it's very general, right? It's very broad, and because this subject is a public health issue, there's a lot of infographics and so forth. But you want to do research, right? You don't want to just look at pictures of PTSD and know the name of the hospital you can call for your loved one, right? So topic is never enough. You have to qualify. Again, this qualifier would be similar to what I showed you earlier as a sub-branching. Remember that? Sub-branching? Where is it? Sub-branching? Oh. So for example, from PTSD, war induced. Okay? So obviously, notice what this is Googling. You can do this, right? PTSD only. Right? Now, you can put double quotes to make sure that it doesn't say. If it's only one, then it probably does not say. But I really want to do war induced. Okay? Now, in this, it's a specific word. So maybe war induced is a little bit too specific. I just put war and then do this. Okay? So immediately it can concentrate on veterans. Okay? So now, what if you want to buy civilians? That's very important because most of the time goes immediately to soldiers, right? Let's look at it. See? Soldiers, blah blah blah. Okay, how about buy civilians? Or maybe even family member. Okay. Effect of PTSD on family. Right? Now we forget about the soldier because that's we receive enough attention. Okay? So these are qualifier. But these are qualifier like noun qualifier or adjective. What I'm trying to say is that you can also, because you're doing research, and research is about finding relationship F2 of Y as a function of X. So maybe you can add words like how this, for example, how. Okay, so forget about the qualifier. I'm going to say something like how PTSD destroy relationship. There's somebody already looking at it, right? Now, in the early days of Google, most people didn't know how to do this because they were just searching topics. But now I think you guys are from the new generation. So what I'm telling you is probably nothing new. Search action words. Action. Yeah. So it's not just a topic. Topic is PTSD and relationship. Okay? But action word, how it destroys. And then you can say for Gulf War. There. So, speaking as many as you like. Now, obviously, if you put all this in the course, you're not going to find many. So it's kind of like narrowing down. So this is the art of filtering. Start, first of all, make sure that you don't lose anything. Start with the very topic, right? But of course, you have to narrow down. Why? Because PTSD alone has 250 billion hits, right? Now, so when you go to here, 39. Now, watch this. What if I put double quotes on family members? That's going to reduce the number. Now it's down to 7 million, right? So this is kind of like forcing a thing. Yeah, right? 100,000. Now let me put top row here. Okay, then I will put that's 300,000. I put top row in the quote. Must appear. Now we're down to 69,000. Right? Plenty of this. Now this is what I mean by searching, topic, and qualifier. Now, another thing you should do as well, because we are actually looking for paper, we're not looking for blog site. A lot of times we would force the format. So a good thing would be something like this. Okay, notice, well, this is already PDF. But let's say I put further. It must be PDF. I want to read a paper, just as I in PDF. Okay? Or, and this is going to make it a little bit too narrow, proceeding. Okay? Because there aren't that many conferences on war with veterans. Oh, okay. And what happened is, actually, sometimes Google does what's called anding, sometimes it does oring. So in this case, what's going to happen is that it's going to look at proceeding and maybe ignore some things here. Okay, but that's very important. But if you put in like PDF just now, you definitely more likely going to hit research paper. See, research game. Remember that website I told you? Okay. So if I didn't take a PDF, let me see. The top ones may not have. Yeah, well, also this one happened to be very good hit. Okay. So let's see this. Without this one again. So let's say war, civilian. So there's a lot, right? There's an outlook, there's a news, there's an article, there's counseling, right? So now I add PDF. See, becomes paper, 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 right? Sightseer, this is also definitely paper, right? So this little trick here, putting down paper. Now, sometimes you would want something else, like for example, PowerPoint or something. But PDF is a very good one because it's very ubiquitous. Most academics, they don't want to publish, they don't want to share docs because they like the way it looks, where they place the screen, the pictures, and blah blah blah. They don't want anybody to take it and mess with it, so they just freeze it. So PDF is why it's a good way of satisfying. But because if you want opinion, op-ed, for example, right? So okay, right. So the object that you want it to show up. So this is how to source. Now, in the old days, I would actually go to a journal and then search within the journal. In the old days, so if I want to do like logistic planning, I'll go to Journal of Operation Management and search within there. But again, nowadays, because this is already indexed by Google, it's pretty good to start with Google. As long as you have enough tricks, it's not going to take you to, advertisement or something like that. It's going to take you to academic research. Right. Now, how to summarize? Okay. Now, I'm not, this is not, how to summarize is one of those things I can't really teach you to show you how it's done. But I'm just going to mention that there are actually 3 levels, right? One is just mentioned, okay? Okay. And the sentence will look like this. There have been attempts to do this and that, and then list the number of references. When you click to this, look at it. Just mention, right? Just mention. There's a brief description. In this paper, the author, Lee, Lu, and Lan, 2010, found that. So maybe one sentence, devoted to one paper. Okay. Occasionally, especially for those papers that you are building on, right? You would actually devote part of the methodology section to that paper. So you're actually repeating what the methodology of that paper is. So you go, in the methodology section, maybe it would take you 15 equations to get to the end, but the first 7 equations are actually the same equation of the paper you're basing it on. Why would you do that? Well, you're not plagiarizing because you stayed right out that you're building on, right? You're giving the guy credit. You're not saying that you can read it. Say, this guy did this. But instead of telling the audience or the reader to go find and read it for yourself, and that could be like 50-page article, and only part of it is relevant, you take what's relevant and you describe it step by step. Okay, so the authors maybe does a few dozen things, but the one thing that is important to this paper here, I'm going to describe in detail. So you have 3 options, and in fact, it's not really an option. It's more like the need. Sometimes it's just good enough to say that we have peers. Okay, this is something that people are looking at. Just to give you an idea that this is something that's, I'm not just thinking of this problem and nobody cares. People do care, right? I have friends, and this is more informative. What does that paper say? What is it going to be different from mine? I'm going to find something else, and do they conflict one another? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. So in terms of how to write about it, you summarize it at these 3 levels. Okay. Now, a very good part, important, is the connective explanation. Building on this previous work, this other guy did this, or I will do this, or while these people focus on it. So this is really basically using text to paint the picture of the tree. Okay? This is extremely important. Somebody should be able to read this and draw the knowledge tree. If somebody read this section that you wrote, and all he or she can do is just list a bunch of paper without drawing arrows or drawing branch connectivity between them, then you fail. Relationships and links. Relationships and links. Very important. Okay? Now, you obviously can't do much if you just mention it. Sometimes I do that just to get it out of the way. I'm not really focused on it. So it's your choice. Okay? Then let's go to here, which is how to sum, and this is very important. How to summarize, and this is a little bit more, I would say, judgmental, right? Judgmental. You have to stand up for what you believe, and what you believe is that, hey, this thing is being well covered. There have been hundreds of papers of PTSD by soldiers. Yeah, it's your own judgment, right? It's your own judgment. You just say, I've been looking at a PTSD, and there are like 1,000 papers already written about what happens to soldiers when they go to war. Nothing about their wives and husbands and children and parents and so forth, right? So really, hey, there's a call for paper. There's a call for further research. What's missing? Now, what's missing? You use that sentence twice. You use in the beginning to say what's missing, and therefore my paper will fill the gap. You write at the end to say what's missing so that future work, either by yourself or by somebody else reading this, should do it. It's a call to action. Okay? So what's missing is written twice, basically, in a good paper. Okay? This thing is missing that, I'm going to fill in the gap. Having filled the gap, there's still a lot more that's missing. Hey, as a community of academic researcher, let's get it on. Let's do this research. Let's pursue this. This is important, right? And also, I didn't mention that a lot of literature survey you would put in words like why it's important. That I consider that part of introduction. You certainly have to say why it's important. Now, finally, I'm going to finish my, delivery here on just how to format. And this is where I say, you don't need me, per se, but there are two places that I just want to point you. If you go to here, don't have to go to this side, but I just thought this one is useful. The reason it's useful is because it compiles many styles. Now, reference is sort of like what you use at the end, right? Bibliography to reference the literature survey. There are many styles. How to do with books, journal articles. That's a big thing, right? Citing journal articles. Now, there are many styles. APA is a short name for like a group of publisher or organizations. This would be something like name, last name, comma, initial, bracket, year, and the name of the article, the name of the journal in slant. Also in slant, this is the volume. This presumably means, in that year, it's there 8050 or something. And this is the page. So this is very nice. This is a very nice style. Now, this is another style, a little bit more verbose. You got a full name? Okay, I'll give the guy a full name. Yeah, take that full name. Now, the title of the article, I'll put it under the bracket. Double quotation. This thing is still slanted, but instead of just, writing the number, I just say volume this, page this. I tend to use, and you can have your own style as well, although that's not highly recommended, but what I myself do is a little bit like this, except I don't like the year over here, so I put year like this. Okay. So these are at least 3 well-established styles. Okay. And this is how do you reference web page and so forth. And when you see something like this, now this is by common knowledge, what it means is that this is the volume, that's like a year. So it's a 39 year of this publication, but sometimes they have 2 volumes in a year, so you can't really you see a big number of volumes, doesn't mean this journal is really that old. Maybe they have 2 volumes per year. Anyway, within that volume, this is number 4. So traditionally, this would have meant this is a journal that's been around for many years. On the 39th year, that's the 39th volume. On the 4th quarter, that's number 4. Except, well, this is not right. This is a web page. Something like it. So this journal, in year 35, right? The 3rd publication, so let's say this would be autumn, right? So winter, summer, autumn. Wait a minute, how do you have? Oh, sorry. So there'd be like first trimester, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter. So this would be autumn. This would be from September to. No, I'm not counting my months, right? What's the 7th month? July. Sorry. Okay, July to September, right? This would be like the 3rd quarter. Okay, I'm just guessing. It doesn't have to be exactly like that. Like I said, some journals are so voluminous that they have 2 volumes per year. Okay, so all the explanations are here. Now, I have something that's my own convention. You don't have to follow me on this. Okay, my convention is this: if the work is done by one guy, I give the last name and the full name. If the work is done by 2 guys, I give the last name and the initial of the first name. If the work is done by 3 guys, I give just 3 last names. If the work is done by 4 or 5, I just put this guy, X or ETAL. That means and others. Okay? It's Latin for this. Yeah, this one is Italian. Means other, among other, and other. F is and. A2 brutal, U2 brutal, Brutus, kill the Roman emperor. Caesar was stabbed, and Brutus was supposed to be his kind of like this ally. So you two, so A, two, and others. Okay? So basically, and others. So for me, I have 4 others. So paper like I was showing you earlier, this I would have. By the way, I also have my own naming convention, which, if I save this paper, yeah, you know what I'm going to save it as? So let's say I download this paper. This is very useful for you to use as your own convention. So where's that paper? That's the paper that I just downloaded. This guy, right? Okay. So this one, okay, how would I save it? I would not save it as this because again, I have 4,000 paper. I wouldn't know what to read. I would actually save it like this. And I suggest you do the same as well. So this is, this again, we get getting to the tricks and the trades. So I would do this. Okay. So this guy, this paper, I would save as, I would rename it. Okay. I would rename it. Okay. And who's the first author? Jumper. Underscore, et al. Year, what year? 2021. Okay, and then I just write this. Highly accurate, use a little briefing, which cannot get protein, structure, predict, with alpha, fold. Now, I do this as well. This is that. But because this paper is actually in an archive, sometimes there's what's called archive number. Yeah. So I would write something like this. Okay. Before PDF, I would put this bracket and I say it is paper with code underscore archive number. And archive number is like a 4-digit thing. And it would also give something like D5. Now this one doesn't have an archive number, but let's say it does. Okay. So I can hide this among my 400 folders of paper, but I can browse, right? I can browse and I can see that it is a paper. Not only is it in the volume, I can see, yeah, this guy, this year, maybe author, it's actually paper with code. So I know that if I want to implement this, I can go to code. This is the archive number. It's actually version 4. So if I actually run across another version that is say version 5, then I know that, hey, mine is a little bit outdated. Okay, this is very useful to us. And yeah, some of this you can pay attention to me or not. It doesn't matter. Okay, so that's a style guide. Okay, it's called guideline. What if you want more than a guideline? Okay, by the way, guideline, this is what's called a guideline, right? Okay? It's not a, it's a guideline. Yeah, it's a guideline. You do this. When you want to publish to a journal, they will have that one guideline. Because they don't want, paper 1 and 2, 3 to have different fonts and blah, blah, blah. So not only is it about this, the whole paper, what font you use, blah, 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 chances are it's best. So, okay, this is what you do. This is what I do. Well, you should do. You write the paper as a preprint. You can use whatever font, whatever thing you like. That's your copy. Let's say you want to publish in this journal, or you want to send it to this conference in Scotland, because you've never been to Scotland, you want to take a trip to Scotland. So, and this is a prestigious conference that happens in that year to be taking place in Scotland, right? So you go to that call for paper page, they will have a template or a guideline. You have to follow that to submit. Sometimes they're even nicer. They don't just give you guideline, they give you template. That means it's like a file like this, and all you do is just separate, put in your own text, right? So maybe it's what's called a doc. You know this, right? document. Okay, document. All right, document, say title, author. Now, what they might do is they would save it as, not as document. Yeah, they would save it as DOCX. They would save it as template. DOTX. Yeah, DOTX. Let's say they gave it to you. I'm just gonna put it here for a moment. Okay, and then you download it. Okay, so this is from the journal or from the okay, and they give you this. You double click, right? And it gives you this. So it's gonna give you an empty spot. So you double click on it and then you put in your word. This is PTSD effect. Yeah, and then you go James Jones John. Yeah. Now they would have this, not just for the title, they have it for the abstract section, intro, whatever, video, and then they would start to have something like this, you know, like a last name, first name, year, right? Title, journal, right? And all you do is double click, yeah, double click, and then just put in your name. Very nice. Now, let me give you something else. For those of you who are going to be doing this on a more, I was going to say, professional look. Okay, not necessarily you're going to be an academic, but sometimes if you want to sell your product and you don't want to look like you don't know what you're doing, you want to use a white paper kind of appearance, it's good to go to something like this. This is this happens to be a free service, but you can go to not free or some other free, but this is the one that I use the latest. It's called Overly, and what it does is that it takes you to I forgot my last name. Well, anyway, so let's maybe I locked this machine before. Okay. Well, anyway, just go to. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's gonna look like this. It's gonna look like this. What happens is that instead of giving you what looks like a document, and then you can click your own thing, right? It's gonna give you literally a pure text with command. This is called text, TEX. This is something I used back in college, and it's very useful. A lot of time, journals or publication source will give you the left-hand file, the file on the left-hand side. So instead of double-click and entering the title, you would actually click here. So this is section called introduction. So you write whatever you need to do. This is section called title, write whatever you do. So you fill all this with the information. You actually download a picture here, upload it somewhere in here, and then you click generate. There's a button called generate somewhere. Okay, once generate, it takes all this command and makes a very nice, PDF ready. And professional looking publication is done this way. Okay, they will probably not give you the document template. They give you this left-hand file, which is called a template style file, STY or something. Okay, so LaTeX editor. Actually, LaTeX is already advanced from originally it's called text. And LaTeX, okay, and this is something that, you probably need to be more technically oriented. But what's good about this is that this is how cool this is. Imagine, right? You wrote this paper, you send it to this journal, you get rejected. You send to another journal, gets rejected. You get to another journal, it's accepted, or whatever. Okay? You send to 5 different publication source proceedings or conference. Every time you have to re-enter your code like this, right? You have to re-enter your text in a different format. With this, all you have to do is do it once, And then there is kind of like what's called a style file. That's a like specification for this journal. So this journal would say, use this style, use package. And this package is only usable for this journal. This package is only usable for this conference. The point is that you write one time. And if you wanted to send it to this journal, you just put the journal format. It's going to generate the right-hand side that looks exactly what the journal wants. You want to send it to a conference in Cairo. Well, you use the Cairo conference as your style specification. Press generate. You don't have to re-enter anything, and it becomes this. And this thing I was telling you earlier about the style, it's specified. So you enter the information like a database. And for one style file, it's going to say last name, first initial, and last name, first initial. You use another configuration, it's going to say last name, the whole first name, use the word and put the year over here. Okay, this is kind of done programmatically. So this is very, if you are going to write one paper in your life, forget it. If you are going to work for like a startup, a fintech that requires technical credibility or technical credence, you're going to have to do a lot of white paper publication. I would suggest you use this. Okay? All this, Nature, you want to publish it, by the way, if you publish in Nature, you're all set. You can get a job anywhere. They have that one, right? So this is how Nature format looks like. Whatever you type in as a title, it's going to appear in this font. Yeah, it's going to have a little empty space on the left-hand side for picture and blah, blah, blah. So this is what it's going to look like. But if you go to another journal, it's going to have something else there. Okay, you get the picture. So these are formatting helps. Yes, formatting helps. I think that's it. Now this is my own format again. One guy, the whole first name, second name, the full name, right? Not the middle name. Introduction to Coppola, blah blah blah, and I put ISBN in bracket as well. Sometimes I put all kind of reference, URL website. So this is my own style. Again, if it's three guys, I use the last name, and last name. War Theorem in the Financial Crisis, International Journal of Approximate Reasoning. Well, yeah, I use this one, volume 55, issue 6. Now, this happens to be a monthly publication, right? So issue 6, because maybe they're not starting in January, they say, well, 6 is August, because 1 is the first issue comes in March. This page, and again, I like to do this. Go to this. Now, whether or not you have access or it's a pay-per-view, it's not my problem, okay? But I tend to give the most public source available. So if, let's say this one happens to be publicly available, I think. But let's say I pick this one, and if I'm not from Chulalongkorn University, okay, this one I can view, right? So go there, view, that's very nice. But let's say I click that and it goes, you have to pay $39 or something to download. Then I would try to find the paper by the same author again on his Vimeo website and see if you can get a preprint copy of that. But this one, yeah, it's very nice. So everything, the whole bit. Yeah. Okay. So that's that. Let's go back to here. This one I published with my team back in the Bank of Thailand. So 2 guys. So this is last name and the initial. Last name, initial. The name of the name of the paper. Now, conference is the same thing as journal in that I use the slang, right? So source. And because I want it to be publicly available, now this journal back then they didn't publish it, so I put in my, now this will be my own author page. So if I click here, but if this was another author, it would work the same way. So I'll go to here, right? And I don't have to worry about whether or not the journal charge you for it. You can just download it for free. Actually, this paper has one typo. Correct that. Anyway. So that's that. That's an example. So this is my style, but certainly follow this style and use project. Now, this is a free service, so I use that for. In fact, I use this one to make that paper that our I think paper we call it. The one that I was showing earlier. Yeah, I use overview. So it's free. It's free. Right. So let me finish with that. That's all I need to say. Now, I would prefer if some of you or, just save time and to make it easy. I'm just going to use the pen here because. Okay, so let's start this journey. So let's go to the mind map again. Once again. Okay. All right. Now, let me ask you a question. You are interested in something about whatever. Was it wine, education? Okay. So can you speak up a little bit? Let's say I'm gonna say. So, remember, this is about finding. Well, first of all, what do you want to write? You want to write a survey paper, or you want to write a research paper that contributes to your knowledge? You have to decide, right? What are you doing this for? Or you're just learning?
Currently, I'm just learning about it.
So if you're just learning about it, you would fall under why? Here, right? Here, right? So in this case, you wouldn't mind if what you get is actually a blog, right? Because you don't have to write a reference. Okay? You don't have to write reference. So a lot of this formatting thing here might not apply to you personally, but what might apply would be the technique of saving the file. So let's do that. Let's say I'm at Google. So wine, okay? Wine is a topic. So it's education. Okay? Now, enter 500 million. Oh boy. It actually gives you a page that sells wine, right? So, well, how about this? Guide to Wine Education course. Now, this, by the way, I can see right away that this is going to be very similar to what's called industry white paper. Why? Chances are this is a company. They want to educate you so they can sell you stuff. So it's not good enough to sell stuff. Nowadays, right? People want to become connoisseur, right? So people want to learn about coffee. Why? So they can pay more for coffee, right? The more educated you are about coffee, the more expensive your taste is going to be. Okay? I made the decision that because I like coffee, I'm going to drink good coffee, but I'm not going to become a connoisseur. So I'm going to be one of those guys that will enjoy anything from, well, side street coffee all the way to whatever. Okay? This one is from the faculty lounge, so it's great and it's good. I like it. So I'm not going to become educated very much in coffee. I'm not going to be able to identify Nicaraguan blend from Guatemalan blend. Yeah? But you want to be educated about wine. So you want to enjoy wine, but you also want to not enjoy wine if it's not good. Okay? So something like this, okay? It's sort of like it gives you a sense of community. People are enthusiastic about wine, so they're willing to pay for. Okay, so let's go to there. Okay. So this obviously would be something that you can educate yourself in, right? Now, obviously, you don't have to save this as an article. You can just save the link. Okay? But let's say you want to have this on something, an iPad you can go to read while you're vacationing where there's no Wi-Fi. Okay? How would you do it? Well, I would save it. Okay. Obviously, you can also save this as save as. And I'll do this very often now. Download. Yeah, you can save this as, or you can print. Okay. So let's say I want to save this as. Now, how would I do it? How would I do it? So that we have a whole bunch of them. Well, I would notice this. This guy, Novotny. Yeah, so this guy, Novotny, and just so that I am not really out of touch or, this thing gets out of it, let's find out what he publishes. Okay, so I would save it, for example, as fitness then. Okay. This one is already nice. It's got a title in there, but I'm gonna make it shorter. So I get the Novotny. Okay, Novotny, and I can give a first name if I like, but I can just use last name for the file. So 2019 guide. Let's make it short. Let's use number 2 guide 2.1 education. Okay. Okay. Now I can save it as a one page, right? And do that. So this will be the same thing we did earlier, except instead of .pdf, it will be .html. Okay. So let's edit that. You can put that in your whatever. Okay. So let's say I want to be more, I guess. Okay. So what do you want to do first? Add more qualification or add, let's add PDF. Wine basic from grade to glass. The reason I like to do this PDF is that, think of it from a production point of view. I have an idea. I just want to say something. I read it wrong. But if I sit down to compile the beginning, middle, end with reference and this and that, chances are I would publish it in an article form. So when you read an article, it's sort of like a refined, it's sort of like a curated way of presenting knowledge, right? It's not just, I just want to tell you about wine. That's very easy. That's why blogs are very popular. But let's say you want one piece of information you want to take on a beachside reading, right? So you want to save it on the iPad. So, hey, this sounds like a good thing. And you can also notice, by the way, the year publication. So let's do this. So when you double click, it either pops out or you download it. I set mine usually to download. Okay, none of this has a format. This one has a format, right? So an example would be this one. This one. No, not this one. Oh, so one basic. Okay, one basic. Now, what I would do is actually this. It turns out that this is not quite a perfect paper. It's a PDF, but it's a PDF of the slide. So this is what I would do. Theme. Yeah, this is the name of the guy. So I would rename this. F2 theme. Right? Now, sometimes it's here 2016, but I actually saw it from the link. 2016. Wine basic. Okay? From grade to glass, this is like a subtitle. I will put a hyphen for subtitle. From, if R is good enough, grade to glass. Now, as a note to myself, I can put publication start. So I know that this is not a paper. So sometimes if it's a textbook, I would say text. If it's a class note, I would write a little bit note. If it's a note, but this is actually what? Presentation slides. So I would write this. This is how I would say it. Okay? Obviously, I open it, so I'm going to close this first before I save it. Okay, try again. Now. Okay, this is what I would put in my iPad. I would go Wi-Fi free. Okay. See? Steam 2016, one basic. So basically, colon, right? From glass to slide. So now slides are not probably not usable as a bibliography for your paper, but who cares? Just reading to yourself, right? Okay. So let's pretend. let's pretend. Let's pretend that you're more than this. You really want to, I don't know. What do you mean by education? Like how to taste wine or how to recognize good wine? So let's just say, wine education and maybe something like regional, like Appalachian control, right? That's a different region, like in Thailand, right? You go to different different province. This province, Nambudu or Para has a slightly different taste, aroma of pla from Canterbury versus this beach in Rayong has a different aroma. So it's kind of that, right? So something about education. So maybe look at education. So appellation as an indicator of quality. This is very intriguing because what? See, it's in research here. So it's kind of like a research paper, right? So you would say this is not trying to sell you stuff. This is trying to give you knowledge. So appellation as an indicator of quality. Maybe there's a question mark in there. Okay? Maybe it's stated like this, but there's a question mark implicit. Hey, maybe it's all nonsense. It's all marketing scam by the French. Okay, let's find out. Or effectiveness. Okay, so let's go to this one. Okay. So I would go here. It's actually International Journal of Wine Business. And this is very good because, by the way, this is also already in bibliography form, if you notice. This guy, the name is here, but if you put the name over here and you put 2010, this is the name of the journal, this is the article, this is the what? What do you think this is? Volume, right? What is this? Number. So if it's a quarterly journal, it is January, February, March, or January, or whatever. Page, there's about 20 pages, right? So you can actually follow the journal, or you can just, hey, I remember this looks good. Let's go to, I didn't know that there's a journal for vinyls. Okay, let's go there. Look, International Journal of Wine Business Research. So it's probably not for consumer, but for, see? You can see volume 33 corresponds to 2021. Issue 1, 2, 3, 4. Issue and number are basically the same thing. Okay. So what we were looking at before here is the author's own archive, right? It's on ResearchNet, it's on author's own archive, but it's actually the version of this paper. So let's go to March 2010. Let's see what happened in March 2010. What volume? It's volume 22, right? So March, sorry, not March. Issue 1. This journal happened to be generous. So you can actually see. So this guy here, right? And if I download it, I will get, well, there's a research page, cover page. So let's say I download this. Okay. Maybe I get a preprint. Maybe I get the actual print. Now, this is a cover page for all research here. So if you go down to this happens to be actual format used by the journal. So if I actually go here, it happens to be this case, this journal here, which is guy again, Atkins. So let's go to the Atkins paper. Where's Atkins? This one. And I download this paper. It's going to look pretty much the same. I'm pretty sure. Yes, it does. Okay? It doesn't have the cover page because it's not on research. So how would I save this? Okay, I would save this as, for me, I would save this as, okay. So this is your own thing. Okay. Now this is actually reference number a little bit like archive, but it's a little bit long, so I cannot use it. So say admin and partner. What's his partner? His partner's name is Johnson. 2010. Okay. Apple S and indicator of quality. Okay. So in this case, you can actually write your own paper. So maybe let me start with a note. Just yeah. So this is your own paper. Okay. Your own paper would be something like assessing quality of wine by what? Okay, by region. Okay. So among all this, assessing what is the okay, and you can have something like a subtitle even. So if this is like a topic, what do you want to do with it? Assessment is brand name reliable or something like that. Okay? Is it reliable? Okay? Sometimes general article will write question mark form, right? Now, obviously, this paper may say yes, may say no. Okay? So sometimes, but this is a way of saying written, but sometimes there's no designation, but you do get the word as written. So you can have something like Australian red wine can be heavier than your garlic. I don't know. Okay, so you can ask all kind of stuff, right? So because you haven't given me a thesis. I don't mean like dissertation thesis. Thesis means things you want to study, things you want to prove. But let's say something along this line, right? And you would say study by say recommendation local, I don't know, influencer, right? So for example, you can have a local influencer of Hungarian wine. I don't know. I don't really drink because I don't drink it. Yeah, something like this. And then you would have this paper, right? So how would this guy appear? This guy, yeah, would appear in your bibliography. So it's like Atkins T. Yeah, this is my Johnson R. Johnson 10. And what's the name of this paper? And okay. Right. Now this is not words I can't do slant, but that's okay. Something like this, right? And I would say VOL dot 22 number or issue 1 page, I don't know, 75, 21, 36. Okay. Now to be nice, because I want the reader of my paper to actually get to there, I will just might as well do this. Or maybe even link to the paper itself as a paper. Let's get to in, where you. And then he can, the reader can decide whether or not he wants to download the paper or maybe just read the abstract. So this is a very friendly way of doing it. So not just give the PDF text, but actually give the cover page. Yes. Like that. This is how I would do it. Yeah. If you write this in Word, obviously you can. Yeah, be nicer. Now, let me just show you what I would actually do. Now, because I like this one better. Let's say this is my font. Okay, this is my font. This is my format. Okay, this is my format, and I like to honor the author by giving a bold face. We have a bit of color. You can do all this, okay? But obviously, it's a bit manual if you do it in Word, right? But if you do it in LaTeX, then you can program it once. It's going to take a while, but you don't have to do it many times. Okay, so let's say we make this one flat, right? And what's this? This is actually an HTML, right? So that's good. Right? So somebody read this, okay? Somebody read this. Now, how would I actually use it? Okay. What I would tend to do, now this you have to there's kind of like bibliography tools. But what I tend to do is this. Okay? Insert caption. Now, caption can be figure, can be this, can be that. I define my own caption as this, as an open bracket. Yeah. Yeah. So let's say I do something like this. Okay. I'm just gonna highlight it, right? So, and let me do another one. Okay. Now. Okay. So let's say this is what I write. I've got two articles now. So acting is one paper, Olsen, B, it's another paper, right? Not good, okay, whatever. Okay. Now, when you go to print, yeah, you don't have to print. But when you go to print, you notice that this thing updates, right? 1 and 2. So now, for example, I say, in this study, we, you will call that, try, we want to establish whether we can judge good wine by, or we can rely on authority to recommend blah blah blah. Okay. One form of authority is appellation. Okay. And then you can say something like Atkins and Johnson found that appellation does not tell you anything. But their study is limited to French origin. Okay. We want to cover, I don't know, Germany as well. Okay. Now, when you do this, right, you have to insert the reference to this. So insert cross reference. Okay. Now, what kind of reference I want to do? I'm looking for this one. See, it gives you an entire option, or just I'm just going to say a name and number. Yeah. So there. Yeah. So if once I have this, Okay, once I have this, or sometimes, to make it short, you can just say one from there. And when somebody read this, let's say you save this as a PDF, somebody click it, and it will take it down here. Okay? So this would be something that in the survey section. On the other hand, to found that. Okay, so this is how you would use the literature survey. Yeah, section, introduction. Yeah, blah blah blah. Yeah. So right away you say, yeah, we're talking about this. People have done it. And it's not a silly little thing that you're doing. Okay. But they found this. They cover only French. I want to do German. I want to do Australia. Maybe the result would repeat what they find. Okay. Blah blah blah. That's it. I'm not gonna say it. Yeah. So something like this. Now with that, what I want to do is, I already get to that. And that's it. That's pretty much what I've got planned. Now, if you have something more to ask, certainly give you a half an hour to Q&A. Yeah, if not, then we'll just say bye. Okay. So again, to summarize the key point. Okay. Literature, book learning, survey, overall view, perspective. Yeah, that's some of the point that you need to do. Stand, right? Why? Well, it's actually what? It's actually where are you in the tree of knowledge? Okay? And if justifying your own paper, there is a gap, hole that your own paper will try to fill. Okay? But you're not a genius. You didn't come from nowhere. Drawing on earlier research, building on, or whatever. Maybe sometimes refuting. You can do that. Right? Okay? So this is where, so the key word is relationship to other, earlier, you don't know how to relate it, obviously, pieces. Yeah, right? And you can do it. There are many sources. We cover things like source. So it's, and stick with academic paper, journal, proceeding. That's. Then you can do something like industry or government, white paper. Okay. Don't have to rely on journal. Okay. And access preprint, archive, right? Also for algorithm for paper with algo data paper science. Paper. Okay. And slash GitHub. Okay. The other is anywhere but GitHub. So you can do that, right? And how to search. search, the format. Okay. Right. But the idea here is basically, lifelong learning. It's all one question. Okay. Lifelong learning and to sort of like add academic foundation, credence, zero. Okay. So with that, I think I've said all I want to say. Do you have more sort of like maybe how to kind of thing? Again, you're the only subject of the workshop that we're going to use.
Not really.
Okay, so I've given you guys quite a bit. Okay, so again, you may have come in with expectation of how to draw a reference, and that's fine to it, but I wouldn't bother coming to give you the workshop if that's all there is. Okay, okay, Cup. So very good. So we end up on one, and again, so this will be shared to all of you. It was shared to all of you. So save this. Okay, so this paper, this is all paper codes. This is one of my key things. Okay, I publish here, I use here, I rely on the code here. Right. So I think I can stop share and leave. Okay, Cup. Is there anything from the chat? Let me check the chat room. There's an echo crap. Okay, I'm sorry about that. It's a bit too late. So you have so I'm calling it mind map. Yeah. Use it. Yeah, final comment is that use it. You can use it to place your reference. Okay, so for example, you come up with a blog page, right? So yeah, let's just find a thing. Let me show you how you use this. So for your own paper, just make a copy, right? Just make a copy. Just make a copy of the yeah, just make a copy of this workshop, of this PowerPoint, this mind map, and maybe say something like, okay, I'm going to use this for my, what's it called, my education, blah blah blah, right? And you found the paper here. Instead of just writing it in any kind of text, just put it here. Oh, where did we find it? We found on publication. We find it. No, actually, we found in not white paper. We found in journal. Okay, we find in journal. It's probably Middle Earth journal. Okay, so journal of wine research, and then I just say paper. Okay, so just go to Atkin and blah 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 2000. Okay, and from the same journal you can find another guy. And from another journal you can find another guy. Right? Use this to look, and when you look back to it, say, oh wait, I've got pretty good here. Okay? But if all you've got is a kind of like an industry white paper, all you got is here, then you have to worry if you're going to write paper. Okay? So this schematic gives you a good view of how balanced your bibliography source is. Okay? And you should have quite a bit. It's an evidence that you've done your homework. So I'm not going to say this one. Okay, so use it to place your reference for each new paper. Okay, so this is a copy of that. Okay, with that, if no further questions, I'm going to sign off. And good luck to everyone. Keep safe. โอเคครับ สวัสดีครับ บ๊ายบาย
ค่ะอาจารย์
ขอบคุณค่ะ
Good. Oh, there's a pop-up chat.
Oh.
Thank you ครับ
Okay, yeah. Now, the recording that should be where?
Will be automated. So I think it was sent to Dr. Choi as well. Because she's the one who set the recording. The Zoom.
Okay. Okay. And you have